This is probably going to be a long video, but if you listen to everything I have to say and put it into practice, your life will improve massively and in ways that are unimaginable to you right now. I promise you, I'm willing to stake my reputation on it. Now, as I explained in an earlier video, there are two kinds of problems everyone faces in life: cause problems and effect problems. A cause problem is a problem that causes another problem. To solve the effect problem, you have to first solve the cause problem. For example, a sore throat is an effect problem. The cause problem could be a viral infection. It might also be a combination of cause problems. In this case, a weak immune system. A weak immune system is a cause problem because it's partly responsible for causing the sore throat, but it's also an effect problem. It itself has a cause. Maybe poor nutrition, stress, or lack of sleep. Maybe all of the above. And then there's probably a reason that you have poor nutrition, stress, etc. Follow this chain of cause and effect far enough and you start to identify cause problems that you can actually fix, which will, in turn, fix the effect problems. As I talked about in my master plan video, my purpose in creating this series is to help you solve all the problems that are interfering with you having the quality of life you desire. And in my exploration, I found that the vast majority of effect problems boil down to just a few cause problems. The first of those cause problems is lack of knowledge, which I went into detail in an earlier video. In this video, I'm going to talk about lack of hope or lack of faith. I'm going to tell you exactly why it's causing problems in your life and how to fix it. First of all, let's talk about what hope and faith are and the differences between them. Faith is a belief in something. So, to use our last example, perhaps you believe that if you take a certain medicine, your sore throat will go away. Hope, on the other hand, is a feeling. Hope is the feeling that accompanies faith. When you believe that the future can be better than the present, you feel an uplifting emotion. That emotion is called hope. Or, if you truly believe that the future will be better than the present, you feel an emotion called anticipation or excitement. In the master plan video, I described this cause problem as lack of hope. However, since hope itself is caused by faith, it's more accurate to say that the root cause problem is lack of faith. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to solve the problem of a lack of faith. And then hope, or anticipation or excitement, if you do it really well, will come along for the ride. So part one, why faith is at the root of many of your problems. Let's say you want to lose weight. You go to a weight loss coach who gives you a meal plan and exercise plan to help you to lose weight. The meal plan doesn't let you eat some of the things you like to eat, and the exercise plan is difficult. Let's say that you don't have faith that the diet and exercise plan will work. In other words, even if you follow the plan 100% perfectly, you don't really believe that you will lose weight. How likely are you to actually follow the plan? Probably not very likely at all. Let's make the situation even worse. Say that you believe that your weight is 100% determined by your genetics and there's no possible way that you're ever going to lose weight. Now how likely are you to succeed? You don't have a chance. Why? Because you're never going to try in the first place. Why would you try if you don't believe that anything is going to work? This is a massive problem in our society, by the way, what I call the born this way mentality. The propaganda machine desperately wants us to believe that everything about us we are born with and thus have zero possibility of ever changing. Born this way is a massive faith killer. So don't let it into your mind. Even if you think it sounds reasonable, you immediately destroy any chances of success as soon as you accept born this way thinking. But back to the example. If you believe that you can't possibly lose weight, then there's no way you're ever going to lose weight. Not because it's actually impossible, but because you think it's impossible. Like Henry Ford famously said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. Whatever you believe tends to become the truth, even if it wasn't the truth to begin with. Reality's funny like that. Now, let's think about the opposite scenario. Think about a time that you were feeling really, really motivated. Feels great, right? Now ask yourself the question, why at that time were you feeling so motivated? I think I know the answer. You were feeling motivated because you believed that you had a course of action that would produce a positive result in your life. Am I right? And perhaps you lost that feeling of motivation later on. What happened there? Probably you started to doubt that you were capable of getting that desired result. Or you began to doubt that the desired result was really all that desirable after all. Do you see how doubt, which is the opposite of faith, is the source of many of your problems? Whenever you feel unmotivated, chances are the real problem is lack of faith. Part 2, the sliding scale. If you grew up in a Christian household, you may have been taught what I call light switch faith. Basically, the notion is that faith is either all or nothing, binary, either 1 or 0. You have it or you don't. You believe in Jesus and you're saved. Don't believe in Jesus? Well, we don't like to talk about that. In reality, it doesn't work that way at all. Faith is not a binary, it's a sliding scale. It's interesting that so many Christians are misled about this concept because Jesus very clearly taught that faith is a sliding scale. How many times did he say, "O ye of little faith"? Not no faith, little faith. Or his analogy of the mustard seed. With faith the size of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. Why a mustard seed? Because a mustard seed is small. He's saying that even with a small amount of faith, you have great power. He's also alluding to the fact that faith can grow. Like a mustard seed, which is very small, but grows into a large bush, so too can your faith slide up the sliding scale. Your faith can and should get stronger and stronger over time, which will make you more and more powerful. Give you more and more motivation, open up more and more possibilities, or get you closer and closer to the kingdom of heaven, to say it in religious language. By the way, I'm not criticizing Christianity. I'm a Christian myself. I just think it's often badly misunderstood in modern times. But that's a subject for another day. Now, part 3, how to have faith. A lot of people say that you should have faith. I'm sure this is not the first time that you've heard this. Psychologists, coaches, and religious leaders all preach the value of faith. The problem is, very few people bother to tell you how to have faith. For that matter, most of them probably have no idea. But here's the good news. Faith can be cultivated. Faith is not just something that happens to you. It's not something that just falls out of the sky and happens to land on a few lucky people. It's something you can control. If you want to have faith, or if you want to have more faith, you can absolutely do that. I'm going to show you how. First, faith is a type of belief. And belief is a thought or observation that is repeated in your mind. This is important, so I'm going to say it again. Belief is a thought or observation that you repeat in your mind. For example, you probably believe that gravity exists. Why? Because you've observed repeatedly that if you drop something or you throw something up in the air, it comes down to the ground. The repeated observation creates a belief. You probably also believe that the earth is round. You can't see that it's round, actually it looks quite flat. But since you were a child, you were told over and over again that the earth is round, you've seen representations of the earth as round, and you've probably had to recite the story of Christopher Columbus sailing west trying to get to India in history class. And so, you've most likely come to believe that the earth is in fact round, because of the repeated thought pattern. The same is equally true for beliefs that are more subjective. That is, beliefs that aren't explicitly true or untrue, the gray area in between. For example, do you believe that you're smart? Most likely, you have thought patterns relevant to this question every day. If your parents and your teachers told you that you were smart as a child, it built the belief that you're smart. If you got good grades on your tests, it built the belief that you're smart. And the thought patterns continue to build. If you do a good job of solving a problem at work, it reinforces the belief that you're smart. Now, since the concept of being smart is relative and somewhat subjective, you probably have evidence that shows that you're smart and other evidence that shows that you're, well, not so smart. For example, you ace your math test and then fail your history test. That's one observation of smart and one observation of not smart. Belief comes when the number of thoughts and observations on one side overwhelm the number of thoughts and observations on the other side. If most of your thoughts and observations are that you are smart, then you're going to believe that you are smart. If most of your thoughts and observations are that you are not smart, then you're going to believe that you are not smart. If half of your observations suggest that you're smart and the other half suggests that you're not smart, then you're going to be unsure and probably waver from one observation to the next. Here's another wrinkle to this story: the importance that you put on each observation. Let's go back to our example of acing your math test and failing your history test. Let's say those are the only observations that you have to go on. If you believe that the math test is a better measure of smartness than the history test, then your belief is going to lean towards smart. If you believe that the history test is a better measure, you're going to lean towards not smart. If you think they're equally good indicators, then you're probably going to be unsure, and probably the results of whatever test you take next are going to have a large influence on your belief. Based on that, there are 3 things that you can do to build faith. Number 1, seek out observations that confirm the thing that you want to believe. 2, emphasize the importance of the confirming observations and de-emphasize the importance of the non-confirming observations. And 3, repeat thought patterns of the thing you want to believe. Let's go through these 3 strategies in detail. Strategy number 1 is to seek out observations that confirm the thing you want to believe. There are many ways to do this. Let's use the smart or not smart example again. You can go do something that you're fairly confident that you can do well. If you know that you're good at crossword puzzles, go do a crossword puzzle. You'll probably be successful and you'll reinforce that you are smart, assuming you see that as legitimate evidence of being smart. You could also spend time around people who believe that you're smart. When they tell you you're smart and treat you as though you are smart, it will provide observations that you are in fact smart. Both of those methods work, but they're somewhat unpredictable. So here's my favorite method: visualization. Something kind of cool about the subconscious mind, where beliefs are formed, is that it usually believes what it sees repeatedly, even if your conscious mind knows that what you're seeing is not true or not real. By the way, this is why you should be very careful about what information you choose to allow into your environment. This includes the books you read, the movies you watch, and the people that you talk to. Even if you're watching a TV show that you know is fiction, it will still influence your subconscious mind, and thus your beliefs. The people in charge of media companies are well aware of this fact, and they don't always use it to your benefit. But in the same way that a fictional TV show can influence your beliefs, so too can a fictional scenario that you create in your own mind. You can visualize yourself acing a math test in the future, or whatever would be the strongest evidence to you of the belief that you desire to have. You can also visualize things that already happened in the past. Remember that problem you solved at work 3 months ago. Think about that. Visualize it repeatedly. If you relive the experience in your mind 5 times, your one observation has now turned into 6 observations. The one original experience plus 5 visualizations. Most people do the exact opposite most of the time. They constantly think about the situations where they screwed up or they failed or they embarrassed themselves. This has the same effect, but in reverse, now reinforcing the belief that they're stupid or they're a failure. The more they repeat it in their mind, the more they believe it. They're actively destroying their faith. The truth is, most people have never been taught to control their minds. They haven't been taught mental discipline. But the mind controls everything in your life. So the most important thing you could possibly do is control your mind. Consciously choose to think thoughts that are helpful to you and reject thoughts that are unhelpful to you. In my opinion, this is the biggest life hack there is. This is also taught explicitly in the Bible, but again, a lot of Christians miss it. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think on these things. Philippians 4:8. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Romans 12:2. To not be conformed to this world is to consciously reject the born this way propaganda of the modern world and instead think about things that are true, noble, pure, etc. Now, we've mostly talked about observations, but thought patterns work the same way. If every time you do something wrong, or remember yourself doing something wrong in the past, you say, "I'm such an idiot," you're reinforcing the thought pattern that you are not smart. You're causing yourself to believe that you are not smart, and therefore to act like you are not smart. After all, how could you possibly act smart if you don't believe you're smart? And then every new not smart action becomes a new observation of you not being smart. It's a vicious cycle that reinforces itself more and more strongly. Learn to shut out thoughts that harm you and replace them with thoughts that help you. Tell yourself that you are smart, that you will have the things you desire. Now, a lot of people stop here, and it doesn't work. There's a good reason for this. If you believe that you're not smart and you try to change that belief, the old belief isn't going to go away without a fight. If you just mindlessly repeat to yourself, "I'm smart, I'm smart, I'm smart," there's going to be a little voice in your head that says, "No, you're not." If every positive thought, like "I'm smart," is immediately followed by a negative thought, like "No, you're not," then you're never going to make any progress. That's a big problem. Thankfully, I've found two ways around this problem. The first way I already told you. Use evidence. I must be smart because I aced my math test. You'll know it works when the "no you're not" voice shuts up. You've proven your point and the devil has no comeback. If the voice still comes back with something like, "Sure, but that test was so easy anyone could have passed it," then your evidence isn't strong enough, unless you can prove the voice wrong. Half the class failed it, and it's an advanced level class. Chances are, if you look hard enough, you can find something you truly already believe that reinforces the thing that you want to believe. One such thought for me has been, if I continue trying and learning and getting better, moving towards my goals, eventually I will achieve them. It is impossible that it could be any other way. If the thought feels good, if it's motivating, if it gives you hope, or better, excitement, then it's working. Keep repeating the same thought. Okay, that's the first thing. Here's the second thing you can do. Make it a game of make-believe. To quote Vadim Zeland from the book Tufti the Priestess, which is where I learned this approach, it's a game, but a serious one. Now, when you tell yourself, "I am smart," you're actually not trying to convince yourself that you are smart. Instead, you're playing the character of someone who is smart. See the difference? Like an actor playing the character of a medieval knight. He knows that he's not really a medieval knight, but he's acting, speaking, and thinking as though he was. You can do the same thing. Act like, speak like, think like, and ultimately feel like the thing that you want to believe is true. If you want to think you're smart, try to act like a smart person would act. Speak like a smart person would speak. Think like a smart person would think. Feel like a smart person would feel. The more you do this, the more you will reinforce the subconscious belief that you are smart. Now, don't forget that this game has limits. The actor probably doesn't go to a restaurant and talk like a knight when he's ordering his food. In the same way, you mostly want to keep this game to yourself, because other people are not aware of your game. They'll probably think you're pretty weird. Now let's get to the third strategy, interpreting your observations. The truth is, no circumstance, fact, or event has any meaning of its own. It only has the meaning that you give it. Here's an example. Let's say that your uncle told you that you're dumb and you're going to be a failure at life. That's what your uncle said. You heard it, it's a fact. But that fact could have many different meanings, many different interpretations. It could mean that you are dumb and you are going to be a failure at life. It could also mean that your uncle is mad at your father for something completely unrelated to you and is saying nasty things to you as a way to hurt your father. You see how the same fact, interpreted in different ways, can have very, very different meanings. So here's the strategy. Be intentional about how you interpret the meanings of facts and circumstances. There's a framework I learned from a coach named Brooke Castillo that's very helpful here. It goes like this. Circumstance, thought, feeling, action, result. CTFAR. In the first place, some circumstance happens. Then you have a thought in relation to that circumstance. This is the meaning you put on the circumstance. That thought creates a feeling. That feeling motivates an action, and that action creates a result. That's the sequence. It repeats over and over and over again in your life. The place in this sequence where you have the most control is the T. The thoughts you have in regard to the circumstance. So that's what you should focus on changing, because it will change everything else up the line. Let's try an example. Let's say your girlfriend dumped you. That's a C, a circumstance. Your thought could be, I'm unlovable, which would create a feeling of despair or self-hatred, which would then create an action such as drinking alcohol to numb the pain, which would lead to a result: you become an alcoholic, lose your job, and live under a bridge. Make sense? Let's try again with the same circumstance. C, girlfriend dumped you. Thought, people suck. Feeling, bitterness, anger against the world. Action, you treat people rudely. Result, nobody wants to be around you. Okay, that's not much good either. Let's try a third time. Circumstance, girlfriend dumped you. Thought, I need to be a better man to keep a high-quality woman. Feeling, determination. Action, go to the gym, build a business, read self-development books. Result, you become a better man and high-quality women want to be with you. See how much better that is? Same circumstance, very different result. So here's the upshot. Thoughts are everything. Your thoughts create your reality. Positive thinking, practiced and repeated over time, creates faith. If you're like most people, up until this point, you probably have not been very intentional about your thoughts in creating faith. Try it. Make this part of your normal way of being and watch your life transform into something you never could have imagined.